Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Nami, Robin and Gina? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. The SHC panted as they breathed the thin air while the Mary floated on the clouds. Oh, shit. I didn't think about the thin air. Naruto breathed out as he slowly stood up. Guys. Look at that. Luffy exclaimed, catching his breath looking out at the sea of clouds they're sailing on. They're clouds. Chopper exclaimed as he looked to the sea with the others. It's clouds. Why aren't we falling? Nami asked as Luffy crossed his arms. Boats floats, clouds float. Same thing. Naruto sighed as Sanji, Zoro, and Chopper chastised Luffy. Wow. Naruto thought with a sweat drop at Luffy's reasoning. Oh no. Usopp's not breathing. Naruto was pulled from his thoughts as Chopper ran to the still downed Usopp. He's not, Luffy exclaimed, running over. Quick, someone give him mouth to mouth. Sanji jumped at that with a heart replacing his eye. Right. I'll give mouth to Nami. Did I do something in one of those past lives of mine that caused me to be surrounded by perverts? Naruto thought as he looked up at the cloudy sky. First Kakashi with Hiro Sennin. Pervert sage. Books. Then Abisu, who was a closet pervert. Then Hiro Sennin, pervert sage, himself. Now in this world it's Sanji. Usopp suddenly woke up before sitting to look around. AHHH. Where are we? What's with all these clouds? He yelled, running to the railing. It's a sea of clouds. Nami said, standing near the figurehead. She looked to her log pose and saw it was still pointing up. It's still pointing up. So we must still be in the middle of the cloud. Robin said from her spot on the railing. So wait, we still need to go higher? Chopper asked Robin, who nodded. That's what the log pose is telling us. Naruto looked at the sea as Sanji was arguing with Zoro, who called him an idiot. Ha ha ha. Naruto blinked as he heard Usopp laugh. Looking to his left, he saw Usopp strike a pose on the railing with his shirt on the deck and the top of his overalls around his waist. Here I go. Cloud champion Usopp. Luffy and Chopper cheered as Usopp put his goggles over his eyes and jumped in the clouds. Several moments went by as the crew looked on. He's not coming up. Zoro commented as the others looked down. You know, it's possible that this ocean may not have a bottom. Robin commented, getting the others to look at her with wide eyes. Baka. Idiot. Did that fool just fall through the clouds? Zoro asked as Luffy shot his arm down. Luffy, stretch out as far as you can. Robin yelled before Luffy looked to her. I am. But I can't see where he is. Luffy replied as Robin crossed her arms in X over her chest. Just leave that to me. Oh hose fleur. Eyes flower. Robin closed her eyes as Luffy's arm was covered in them. A few moments went by before she gasped. I see him. Baint fleur. 20 flower. She said before opening her eyes. He's safe. Pull him up, Luffy. Luffy jumped on the railing and struggled to pull Usopp up. He shouldn't be heavy. Robin said just as Luffy pulled with all of his strength and Usopp came up out of the water. But a large octopus and eel fish. Holy shit. Naruto yelled as Zoro jumped up to slice the octopus. The octopus popped like a balloon just as Naruto jumped up with Sanji and attacked the eel. The eel went flat as the head hit the Mary and stayed there as Usopp shivered and shook on the deck. Everyone panted from the thin air as Sanji looked to the eel. What do you make of this? He asked with his foot on the head. It's the strangest creature I've ever seen. I'm not sure it's even a fish. Naruto looked at what was left of the octopus as Luffy spoke up. And that octopus was like a balloon. How can there be fish up here in the clouds? Nami asked as Robin looked out to the sea. You said it yourself, it's a sea. She explained as Chopper looked up to her. Suddenly, Usopp screamed as he picked a flat blue fish with small feathers out of his pants and curled up in a ball. Robin looked at it before picking it up as it flared around. Hold on, I think this is one of the sky fish Nolan talked about in his book. It sounded fantastic at the time. But now that I see it, it looks like they've evolved to survive up here in the clouds. She explained as Zoro crossed his arms. Evolved? You mean turn all flat and ballony? To make them even lighter. The buoyancy up here must be several times lighter than the oceans down below. She replied as Luffy took the fish. And grew scale-like feathers and carnivore-like mouths. Nami said before hearing Luffy eat. She looked to Luffy eating a suited fish. Hey. We were still examining that. Nami yelled as Luffy took a bite. Sure that wasn't poisonous? I mean, I know Luffy would eat a poisonous fish with his appetite. Naruto said as Nami took a bite of it as well. Naruto shook his head before Chopper screamed about another boat being attacked. What the hell? Naruto yelled, looking as a man with tan skin skated towards them. He's wearing a large mask, shield, and a grass skirt. He's wearing what looked like skates with a bend on them, small white wings on his back, and carrying a bazooka. Look out. The man jumped up to them and hit Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. The man dashed to Naruto, who dodged slowly before touching the man's arm. The man jumped up to the mast and looked down, only to see Naruto's gone. Behind you. The man looked behind him and saw Naruto, who punched him. The man tried to jump away, but every time he did, Naruto appeared beside or behind him. That's enough out of you, villain. A man wearing armor, riding a pink polka-dotted bird, said, attacking the man. After deposing him, the knight jumped onto the Mary. The knight is an old man of average height with long white hair, mustache and beard, with a dark red shirt and brown pants, with the visor pulled up. He has a long dark blue cloak that's yellow on the inside and at the back. Oh, great. Now who's this guy? Nami asked as the man looked to her. Miss. You may call me the Sky Knight. The Sky Knight introduced himself as the bird squeaked Pierre. What's going on? Who was that guy? Nami asked before looking to the painting forms of Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. And you? Could you be any more useless? Naruto's the only one worth his salt here. Nami finished as Chopper bowed to thank the knight. Just my duty. This one is on the house. He said as Luffy panted hard. It must be because of the thin air. Robin commented as the knight walked up to the upper deck to the bow. You must be Blue Sea people. Nami looked at him in confusion. Blue Sea people? What's that? And who are you? The knight sat on the railing before explaining. Like I said. I'm the Sky Knight. And Blue Sea people is what we call the people who live beneath the clouds. I'm assuming you traveled here from the Blue Sea. That's right. Luffy said from his spot on the deck. That explains it. You've traveled to the White Sea, 7,000 meters in the air. The White Sea, which is where I assume you're traveling, is still higher at 10,000 meters. Ordinary Blue Sea people can't possibly handle it up here. He finished as the trio got up, breathing normally. Now I'm sure you've got many questions, but we have business to discuss. You see, I am a soldier for hire. The White Seas can be quite dangerous. There are evildoers like the one we just fought who would like nothing more than to turn you into food for the skyfish. The knight said, resting his lance on his shoulder. For 5 million extol, I'll protect you. The crew looked at him for a moment, having him wave his free hand. Now wait a minute. That price is more than reasonable. Naruto walked over with his hands behind his head. I'm sure it is. But what the hell is extol? We use berries on the Blue Sea. You don't know? Surely they taught you the difference at the summit of High West, didn't you? Surely you must have passed an island or two. The crew looked at him in shock, minus Luffy, who had a confused look. What? Nami pointed at the Sky Knight before speaking. Wait. Are you saying there's another way to get up here that would have had us pass an island or two? As in there's more than one Sky Island? She asked as the knight raised an eyebrow. Don't tell me you came up here by the— He was interrupted by Robin. We came here on the knock-up stream. The knight gained a shocked look at that. My word. That monstrous current. So. There are still souls brave enough to even make the attempt. Nami hugged Naruto and cried into his chest. I knew it. So we risk our lives for nothing. Naruto pats her on the back, trying to ignore her chest pressed into his. She suddenly let go and shook Luffy. Are you happy we should have all been killed? If we had only asked around a little more, we could have found a safer way of getting up here. She yelled as the knight spoke up. Did you lose any of your crew? Luffy looked back at him before speaking. No, we all made it. The knight nodded at that. You're lucky. If you had gone a different route, you would have lost all but 1 or 2 of your crew. That's the gamble. He raised his hand up as he explained. Either all of you would have died or lived. That's the way of the knock-up stream. Not many are willing to take that risk. Especially these days. If nothing else, you are extraordinary navigators. Usopp, with his overall fixed, stood up to take the credit. Only to stop as Nami pinched his cheek. The knight held up a whistle on his string before speaking. This is the one whistle. He threw it down, having it land at Nami's feet. It's yours to use as you see fit. The knight stood up and turned around. Blow it and I will come to your aid. Like I said, I normally charge 5 million extol, but this will be my gift to you. But we still don't know your name. The knight turned to Nami before speaking. I am Ganfall. And this is my partner Pierre. Ganfall pointed to his bird, who chirped his name. Pierre is no ordinary bird. He ate the Yuma no Mi, horse fruit. And gained its powers. Ganfall explained as Pierre turned into a horse with wings, although he kept his bird face and only looked a little like a horse. After Ganfall left, the crew started to sail towards what looks like a waterfall. When they got to it, their way was blocked by 2 darker shaded clouds that was floating on the sea. It looks like the clouds are floating. Like icebergs. Sanji said, taking a drag from his cigarette. So what, they're cloudbergs? Usopp asked, leaning against the railing. Luffy stretched his arm out to grab the clouds, only for it to bounce off. It bounced off. Luffy exclaimed before jumping over and started to bounce on one. I guess that explains on how the people don't fall on the islands up here. Naruto said as Luffy continued to bounce as Usopp and Chopper joined him. Hey. Look for a way to get past these clouds. Nami yelled as the trio left. Hey. Get back here. Nami yelled as Usopp looked through his goggles. After a moment, they came back explaining there's different paths leading to a large gate under the waterfall. A man-made gate under that waterfall. Sanji asked as Robin looked towards it. At this point, nothing surprises me. After sailing through the paths, they came up to a large gate that goes into a tunnel. It's a star-shaped tunnel with Heaven's Gate on a red sign near the top. It is a gate. Zoro said as they stood on the bow minus Naruto who was in the crow's nest. And it really is a waterfall. Nami said as Naruto jumped down just they went in the tunnel before hearing an elderly voice. Turning to their left, they saw an elderly woman. She is a short with an extensively wrinkled face. She has purple hair, put into two buns. She has thin arms and wears a pink tunic and has small white wings on her back. She's taking their pictures before looking up as she stopped. I am Amazon, the gatekeeper. What brings you here? Sightseeing, warmongering, or other? Nami stepped forward to answer. I guess sightseeing. Luffy smiled as he held his straw hat. We want to go to Sky Island. It's just past here, right? You must pay the toll of 1 billion XTOL per person. Nami held her chest as she felt her heart stop at that. 8 billion, she yelled before looking up. Listen. I don't think we have that much. Can we just go through the gate anyway? Amazon shrugged at that before replying. Sure. Naruto blinked at that before large lobster claws came up and held them airy. I have a bad feeling about this. He thought as they started to sail up the waterfall with a lobster. Hang on tight. After getting to the top, they saw what looked like a regular island with trees and clouds on it, as well as a smaller one above it in the air, as well as a cloud bridge with white twisted edges. For a better picture, look at Ep. 154 Skypiea. Wait. Didn't the sign on the waterfall say Skypiea? Robin asked as Nami nodded at the question. Yeah, that is what was written on the map we found as well. Nami explained before they stopped at a beach. Luffy, Usopp and Chopper ran to the beach as the girls changed clothes as Sanji took his jacket off as did Naruto, who also took off his shirt to change into a black one. Sanji rolled his pant legs up a little and took off his shoes before following after the trio. Ow. Naruto looked to see Nami being pecked on by the southboard in new clothes. She's wearing a bikini that was designed in a cloud pattern colored in blue, light blue and white. She paired her top with maroon trousers and barefoot. The bird flew off as Nami held her head. We forgot about the south bird. Zoro shrugged at that as he anchored to Mary. He'll be fine. Birds adapt quickly and there are people living here. This place seems to be floating on that heavy cloud from earlier. Zoro explained before Robin walked out. She's wearing a yellow sleeveless shirt and purple pants reaching to her calves, with a simple belt around her waist and purple high-heeled Mary Janes. She's wearing her wide ornament on her left arm. That means Sky Island floats on a sea of cloud cover. I wonder if it's stationary in the sky or if it moves with the tide. Nami smirked as she walked to the railing, swinging her hips in front of Naruto. We can sit on this deck all day and pick this apart. But where's the fun in that? She asked before jumping off to the calf-high water. As the crew looked around the beach with a gazebo and cloud furniture, they heard a harp. Looking near the ocean, they saw a girl playing a harp on a cloud hill as a fox ran past them to her. She has blonde hair which she is in two braided pigtails and two antennas sticking out at the top of her head. She's wearing a pink dress with black flower-shaped textures that goes to her thighs. She also has red and pink striped sandals that are wide on the bottom, as well as two small wings on her back. The fox is solid white with squinted eyes and average-sized ears. Her mouth somewhat resembles a snout. Her tail is long compared to her body and is lighter at the end. Pizo. Hello, she greeted with a smile as Sanji swooned over her. Sue, come here. She started to walk to them. Are you from the Blue Sea world? Luffy nodded as he tried to eat a hard green fruit from the tree. Yes. Is this your home? He asked as she stopped by them. Yes, it sure is. I'd like to welcome you to Sky Island's Angel Beach. She said before seeing Luffy holding fruit. I'd bet you'd like to drink that, right? Luffy blinked before handing her the fruit. The top is as hard as steel. You need to cut the underside and drink it. She said, turning it over and cut a hole in the center. She put a long straw in the hole and handed it back to Luffy. Here. Luffy took a sip as the girl picked up Sue. I'm Canis. And this is Sue, a cloud fox. Please let me be of service to you. Canis introduced herself before Sanji spoke up. Yes, your eyes are Lee. He stopped as Nami pulled his ear. Enough. Actually. We have tons of questions. I hate to bother you, we've never been anywhere like this before. Nami said as Naruto walked around looking at the trees. Oh, that's my father. Naruto looked to see a man riding what looks like a water scooter. For a better picture, look at Waver One Piece. Pizo, hello, Canis. He is average height. He is almost bald but has the hair antennae sticking out. He has a strange round beard covering his mouth and his eyes are closed. His hair, antennas and beard are dark brown, along with his eyebrows. He's wearing robes like his daughter, a brown-yellow one with a light yellow collar and a black leaf-like design. And a basket on his back. Hizo, hello, father. Kana greeted him as he came closer. He's riding a sky waver. Kana said as she noticed Nami staring at the waver. He couldn't stop and crashed on the beach as the others looked to him. Hey Luffy. Didn't you bring back something like that waver from the seabed? Nami asked Luffy, who was still drinking from his fruit. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Nami looked at Kanis's father as he stood up and picked the waver up. Then that must be the boat we read about in the Null and the Liar book. A boat that can sail without wind. Naruto shrugged as he stopped by her. Not that surprising to me. In my world we have flying ones. Although I'm sure there's a way to do that here. He said as the others talked to Kanis's father, who introduced himself as Pugaya. Nami walked over to the waver with Naruto following, and she bent at the waist to look it over. Naruto looked away as she examined the waver, intentionally swaying her hips a little as she did. I have a question. This boat doesn't have any sails, so how does it propel through the water? Kana smiled before she spoke up to explain. Oh, that's right. Your people don't know about dials. Dials? Nami asked, looking back just as Luffy jumped on the waver and stepped on a pedal. And sped off, drenching the others before crashing in the water. Got him. Naruto said, jumping over to the prone Luffy who was sinking. Naruto fell in the water and grabbed Luffy before swimming back to the beach. Naruto sat on the beach as Luffy recovered, listening to Pugaya and Kanis explain it takes 10 years of training to even get decent enough to drive a sky waver. As they explained, Naruto looked on slack-jawed out to the ocean as Nami skillfully rowed the waver around. Along with the others before Luffy yelled out. Nami, we're invited to dinner. Now get off that thing and stop being rude. Sanji kicked him in the head before Pugaya walked ahead to his house up a flight of stairs. Naruto created a clone to follow after as he remained seated. I'll wait for Nami-chan to get finished. As they left, Naruto smiled at the look on Nami's face as she sailed back and forth. The others. The crew, Kanis and Pugaya walked the stairs, passing a factory with white blocks of clouds going into it as Pugaya explained everything. That is our cloud quarry site. It's where our clouds are manufactured and cut to meet our many needs. Zoro looked at the conveyor belt that hauled the blocks before speaking. I didn't know you could cut clouds. You did take the Milky Road on the Great White Sea to get here, didn't you? Pugaya asked them as Zoro raised an eyebrow. Milky Road. That the name of that messed up current we took to get here? Pugaya nodded at that before continuing. Yes, it's a beep constructed by our engineers using the natural clouds we quarry. There are two types of natural clouds. Your ship traveled on top of sea clouds. And the ones we can stand on and build with are called island clouds. Zoro put his hands in his pockets as they continued climbing the stairs. They're not the clouds we're used to, are they? He asked, making Pugaya nod. That has to do with a mineral on the blue sea called Kermsiki. Sea prism stone. Robin looked up at that before speaking. Kermsiki. Sea prism stone. What effect does that have on the clouds? She asked before Pugaya looked over his shoulder. Inside Kermsiki. Sea prism stone. Are carnelian particles called pyrobion. Pyrobion. During volcanic eruptions, these particles gain moisture and ascend up here in the sky. Our clouds are formed based on the density of the moisture. Luffy and Usopp jumped from the clouds and nodded. Of course I knew that. Naruto facepalmed as Sanji berated them. In all actuality. There are 3 types counting the ones we make. Pugaya finished as they went inside his house. Sanji followed him into the kitchen as the others sat on cloud couches in the living room. I was wondering. Could you explain more about these dials? Robin asked as she sat beside Naruto. Of course. It's a little complex, I don't know where to begin. Kanis replied before walking to a desk by the open door to a deck. She picked up a large spiral seashell and handed it to Luffy. For a better picture, type dial One Piece. It's just a seashell. Kanis smiled at that. Yes, it looks like it. But speak into it. Luffy brought it to his mouth and spike into it. Usopp stinks. Kanis brought a hand up and pointed at the top of the dial. Okay, now press the dial at the apex of the shell. Luffy looked confused at that before Usopp pointed to the point of the shell. She means there, the top of the shell. Usopp said before pressing the top, revealing it's a button. Usopp stinks. The dial replayed, shocking the duo. That's a neat trick. So it replays whatever sounds it hears? Zoro asked with his arms on the back of the couch. Yes, we call this a tone dial. It's a shell from the white sea that records and replays whatever it hears. She went on to explain that the shells are on the shallow parts of the sea and there are different ones for different jobs. This is a breath dial. Kanis picked up a different dial and it blew air. We have ones that create heat, light, taste, and records pictures. Naruto looked up before standing. Oyabun. Boss. Just joined Nami. The others looked at him before Chopper spoke. How do you know that? Naruto looked to him and explained. He created another clone and had it dispel. Anything a clone like me finds out after being created, as soon as we dispel, the original will get our memories of the information. Naruto created another clone and dispelled it, so the original Naruto will know what Kanes told them. After eating, Sanji looked out to see Nami wasn't visible anymore, causing Kanes and Pagaya to gain a worried look. What's wrong? Naruto asked, sitting down, having Kanes' eye. There's a part of the island called Upper Yard. No one is allowed to set foot on there. I'm afraid Nami may have gone there. It's not far from here, and it's a short ride on the waiver to get to it. Zoro raised an eyebrow at that before speaking. Why's that? Kanes looked to them before replying. It's where Kami, God, lives. She looked to each as Naruto raised an eyebrow. Either that person is delusional or that's what they call their leader here. Naruto thought, looking up to the ceiling as she explained his name is Enel, and he can see everywhere in Skypiea. Nami and Naruto. Naruto was riding with Nami on the waiver before she saw something up ahead. She sped to it and saw land from Earth with very large trees. What the hell? How did this get here? Naruto asked as he held Nami's waist. Yeah. Nami replied, looking up at the trees. Well, Ganful did say there's a safe way of getting up here. Maybe they bring trees up here with dirt. Or maybe it came up here hundreds of years ago by some means. Naruto finished before hearing a voice talk about finding treasure. They slowly sailed around a bend to see an old boat with a bird sitting on a tone dial. Oh, that must be one of those tone dial. Kanes is explaining to the others. It's like a black den mushy down below. Naruto explained before they heard a yell. Looking up, they saw the tree leaves move as birds flew away. They heard several voices before following them to a clearing and saw a group of 4 men gang up on another man. The first is a tall, bold, muscular, and bearded man. He has a pair of small wings sprouting from his back. He's wearing a pair of sunglasses with point-like extensions on both sides. His right arm is covered with tattoos, the one on his wrist resembles a bracelet. His attire consists of a dark green A-shirt, loose gray pants with many pockets, and what look like zips under his knees. The long and flowing white sash around his waist, and dark leather boots with bandages around the soles. He has a massive sword with an extra large hilt on his back. Beside him is a large pale yellow dog. The next man is a round-shaped man with fair skin and long dark red hair. He is clad in a white full-body jumpsuit, which has a vertical line of golden rings that run from front to back, an orange hat similar in style to a Cappello Romano, orange gloves, shoes, and large yellow sunglasses that completely obscure his eyes. In addition, he carries a large striped cane on his back. The next man is a tall, dark-skinned man. He has an unusual hairstyle, with a row of upward-pointing tufts or Rasta-style dreadlocks from ear to ear. He has a pair of wings on his back. He's wearing a matching purple jacket and pants, black gloves and shoes, a pink shirt, and a blue tie-like scarf around his neck. He has a large white tissue belt around his waist with a red circle in his center. The final man has a thin, pointed mustache that splits into 2 parts. On his head, there is an aviator hat decorated with wings and a pair of goggles on the front. His attire is composed of an orange fur-lined jacket with brown swollen sleeves decorated by beige spots, loose matching orange pants held up by a belt, fur-lined gloves and boots, and a purple scarf around his neck. He's dark-haired, and on his back there is a pair of wings. He has a jousting lance and is riding a giant bird. The bird is a purple feathered bird with gigantic wings on its enormous body. It has red feathers around its neck. Its head is white, has a sharpened beak, and the eyes are yellow-colored. Its tail is further purple-colored with lighter extensions to it. The claws underneath its legs are white, with sharp black nails. What the hell is going on? Nami asked as the group argued on who would kill the man. Suddenly, Naruto stiffened as he heard something. Looking back behind them, they saw the man that attacked them earlier aiming his bazooka towards them. And shot it, having the missile fly past them. Boom. And hit the men with the explosion. Looking up, they saw the man that was being attacked begging for help off of the island. But we're already over the limit. Nami said before the man picked up a sword. And was hit with a large pillar of lightning, killing him. Well. That escalated quickly. Naruto said before another smaller one attacked the man behind them. The man sped away, having Nami and Naruto hide along the edge, listening to the 4 men talk about them and their ship being here illegally. The others are in trouble with the police force here. I'll go on ahead while you catch up. Naruto said before flashing away. The others, beach. Naruto flashed beside Robin as he saw a group of men wearing characteristic uniform that consists of light purple t-shirts, blue with white cloud-shaped spots, wide trousers, and white berets with letters WB on them. Usopp looked to Naruto and explained that they would need 8 million berries to pay their fines. Oh, the currency difference. We should have asked about that at the gate. We may have had enough on the ship. Naruto looked at the captain who has a scar on his left cheek before hearing Nami drive to them. Hey Nami. We need 7 million berries to pay off our fines. Usopp yelled, missing Nami's eyes shadowing at that. She sped up and hit the captain of the squad before blinking. Whoops. I was so worked up I forgot to brake. She said before taking the waiver to Pagaya and Kanis. We just got in even more trouble. Zoro said with his arm crossed. Yeah, I'm starting to think almost all police forces are crooked. Naruto commented, looking as Nami lied to the other men that it was an accident, with it being her first time on a waiver. Naruto blinked as he saw them carry the captain on their backs as they crawled. Why the hell are they crawling? Wouldn't it be faster to walk? He asked as Nami ran to them. We need to leave now. They started to get the Mary ready to sail before seeing the white berets with Kanis and Pagaya. Nami tried to get Luffy on board but only succeeded in stretching his arm before the white berets attacked with bow and arrows. Cloud came out of the head of the arrows, creating several paths before Naruto jumped over and picked 2 black kunai out of his pouch as the white berets attacked by skating on the clouds with dials on their shoes. The white berets picked up knives only for Naruto to slice them apart before stopping at another group. Everyone gasped as they felt malice in the air. The white beret's eyes widened in shock as Naruto's eyes became red and his pupils became slitted. His whiskers darkened as his canines grew before they saw his shadow grow and take the form of a 9-tailed fox. Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind the white berets, having them fall to the ground. You've done it now, criminals. Naruto, Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro looked over their shoulders at the captain of the white berets, who was in the forest bleeding. Out of all of the law officials, we white berets are the most lenient. However, they are not. Congratulations. You are now considered second-degree criminals. You can try to cry for mercy. He stopped as Naruto laughed. Man, I can't believe people keep confusing me for this guy who gives a shit. I'm wanted back on the blue sea. What difference does it matter up here? After talking on how to get back home, Kanis told them the only way at the moment was on Cloud End. They started to get the Mary ready before Luffy ran to Pagaya. Hey, can we take the leftovers? Pagaya nodded, having Luffy walk with Sanji and Usopp following. Naruto started helping the others with the Mary. Later, Mary. Naruto was tying ropes as Kanis left after telling them of a current that'll take them to the white sea quicker before walking to the mast that has metal around it before the Mary shook. Suddenly, they started sailing away from the shore at high speed. What the hell? Naruto yelled, using chakra to stay steady on the deck. The Mary was lifted up and they saw they were on a large shrimp before Zoro jumped down and attacked but did no damage to its shell. Zoro. We're being followed by more fish. We'll just need to ride this out. Naruto yelled, seeing 2 eel-like fish follow them from behind. The others, beach. This will be canon, so feel free to skip it. Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp walked down the steps after getting supplies and a change of clothes. Luffy just has a black wristband around his left wrist with a white bangle over it. Sanji is wearing a pink dotted shirt with black knee-length pants with slippers. Usopp has a murky green shirt and a white bandana. As they talked on how to get to where their Mary went, Kanis came and offered to take them to a port that will lead them straight to it. As they walked, they noticed everyone give them a wide berth as they went to the docks. They stopped at a small 3-person boat shaped like a crow. Luffy looked to Kanis before speaking. You've been trembling ever since we've left. Are you alright? Her eyes widened in shock before he continued. You could have told us. We could have come here on our own. Sanji looked to see the people walking away from them before Kanis fell to her knees. She cried as she apologized because she had to take them to Upper Yard to die because of a law before Luffy grabbed her. What? Then why tell us? Now you're in even more trouble. He yelled before a bright light shone and a pillar of lightning hit where they were sitting. The dust cleared, showing the SHC were alright as Ganfo was riding Pierre with Kanis laying on his back. She'll be alright with me. I'll watch over her. Now that you've seen Enel's power. What will you do? Luffy fixed his hat before speaking. The same thing from the start. Save our nakamas. Friends. Ganfo flew off as the trio got in the crow and sailed off through a gate with 2 on it. Luffy steered the ship as they talked about having to go through an ordeal to save the others, who was taken to an altar. They went down a hill before Usopp pointed ahead. Guys. Where did that huge forest come from? He asked, pointing to a rather large forest in front of them. Is that the Upper Yard? Sanji asked in disbelief. They went through the entrance with several statues and cattle skulls beside them as it got darker from the trees hiding the sunlight. They passed several wrecked ships and saw large birds fly above them, having Usopp freak out. Suddenly a large axe swung at them, barely missing them before others came down as well. Usopp, Luffy, and Sanji used oars to have the crow sail faster, dodging the blades. Paddle like crazy. Luffy yelled before stopping and jumped to the back. Gomu Gomu no. Bazooka. Gum Gum Bazooka. Luffy hits the water, having them fly in the air, dodging the last blade. Only for spears to shoot at them, with one hitting the deck. Spears Luffy grabbed too, twist his body before spinning, hitting all the spears before they got past them. A flying bladed disc flew at them, having them scream. The going merry. Naruto put on a black sleeveless shirt as he walked out of the kitchen and noticed Nami was now wearing a yellow t-shirt. He looked to see they were on a giant altar in the forest surrounded by water. Naruto looked to see shadows swimming around them before seeing Zoro with goggles on his neck. Are you telling me we're all going to die? Naruto looked to see Chopper fall of the railing and down the steps to the sea. Robin created two hands to catch him at the bottom as a dark blue shark jumped out. Only to get sliced by Zoro, who also fell in the water. A few moments went by and they saw Zoro jumped out of the water uppercutting a fish. What kind of swordsman uses his fists instead of his swords? Naruto thought with a sweat dropped. Nami threw Zoro a blue sleeveless shirt to switch with his wet one as they talked about finding a way off. Zoro looked to see a large dent in the hull. Damn. Can't leave with the hull like that. Zoro said, fixing his shirt. Hey Chopper. Find a way to fix the ship. Chopper looked at Zoro with a shocked look. I'll help. Naruto said, creating a clone who started walking to the storage area in the bottom. Naruto watched as Zoro looked for a way to the forest to scout before getting a backpack and went up to the crow's nest. Zoro started walking on the sail, followed by Robin, who also had a pack on, as well as a white cowboy hat. Nami slumped before following after as Zoro used a vine to swing over to the forest, followed by the girls. Nami. Throw that tri-pronged kunai if you need me. Naruto yelled as several more clones worked on the Mary before the others left. I wish I could go. Naruto looked down at Chopper before speaking. The Mary needs to be protected. These priests of Enel could attack her if we're not here. Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy. The trio sailed to a large stone face with 4 tunnels, each had kanji above them. Ordeal of Iron, Ordeal of Swamp, Ordeal of String, and Ordeal of Spheres. Usopp read each one off. That must be those ordeals we were told of. I guess we can choose which one to take. Sanji said as Usopp gulped. But which one? Let's go with spheres. Luffy said, pointing to the one on the far right. But why spheres? Usopp asked, looking back at Luffy. Spheres are like balls, right? Sounds like fun. Usopp deadpanned at that before speaking. That's your reasoning? They're ordeals, they're not supposed to be fun. Although, I don't disagree with you. Spheres is the one that sounds less dangerous. Usopp turned to it after debuting on the others and went through a dark tunnel. Oh. Maybe this is like one of those games. Where if you pick the right door, you get a prize. Luffy said with a grin, having Usopp look over his shoulder. Why would you bring this up now? Usopp yelled as Luffy grinned. And if you pick the wrong one you fall off the island. Usopp gained a tick mark at that before yelling. Why would you say that? Sanji sighed as he had a cigarette in his mouth. You both are being bakas. Idiots. He said as they made it to the other end. Nothing like that is gonna he trailed off as the light revealed a waterfall leading to a bottom set of clouds as they drifted on the air. Ahhhh. They screamed as they fell down into the clouds. And back on the river. Usopp hyperventilated as Sanji started kicking Luffy in the head as he laughed. They continued down the river as Sanji steered the crow while smoking a new cigarette. Where are we now? Sanji asked as Luffy held onto his straw hat. The forest. But with balls. He said as they looked to see large white balls floating around them in the forest. As well as multiple paths going up into the trees. They started sailing in the trees, missing Satori sitting on a ball above them. Luffy and Usopp started hitting a ball back and forth before a large green snake popped out of it and lunged at Usopp. Usopp ducked as he screamed before Luffy kicks it away from them. Sanji kicked at another, only for his foot to go several inches inside and gently pushed the ball away. Boom. The ball exploded, leaving the trio singed. For crying out loud. What's with these things? Usopp asked before hearing a laugh. Ho, ho hoo. Silly children. These are surprise clouds. The trio looked up to see Satori sitting on a ball as he drifted closer to them. You never know what's coming out of them. I'm so glad you picked my challenge. The Ordeal of Spheres. They sweat dropped as they looked up to Satori, who started to dance on top of the ball. You'll need to beat me if you plan on going any further, and I really don't see that happening. He jumped down to them as Luffy twirled his arm around. Oh, you're going to stretch. Luffy faltered before throwing a punch. Gomu gomu no. Pistoru. Gum gum pistol. Satori leaned to the left to dodge before appearing in front of Luffy with his hand in front of Luffy's face. In Pakuto. Impact. Luffy was suddenly sent flying away from a force before hitting a tree and cracked it as he made an imprint of his body. Sanji and Usopp looked on in shock before Sanji lunged at Satori. You're going to kick. Sanji kicked as Satori dodged out of the way. Only the most well-trained are granted the ability of mantra. Mind rope. Satori attacked Sanji with an open palm, sending him flying down to Luffy, who fell to the ground. Satori attacked Usopp from behind, sending him flying as well before laughing. The shock destroys the body from the inside out. Luffy slowly sat up as he recovered from the attack. Sanji. Usopp. He groaned, picking his hat up as the others sat up as well. Who? My name is Satori, one of the 4 priests of the mighty Enel who watches Upper Yard and see the judgment of criminals like yourself. Satori introduced himself as he bounced on the crow. He turned the row on and headed sail in the forest. Get to your boat before it reaches the exit and you'll pass my ordeal. Satori jumped on another ball and danced on it as the trio looked at their boat. The ordeal of spheres. There's only a 10% survival rate, good luck. Satori finished with a laugh before the others dashed towards the crow. Luffy stayed to distract Satori with a smirk. Luffy stretched his left arm up and grabbed a limb before throwing his right one at Satori. Same move as before. Satori dodged the attack before grabbing Luffy's outstretched arm. And spun around, twirling Luffy with him. Satori had Luffy hit a tree head first before letting him go. Luffy flipped and wrapped his legs around a limb before throwing his arm out past Satori. Gomu Gomu no. Muchi. Gum Gum Whip. Satori jumped over Luffy's leg as he went past before Luffy attacked with another kick. Satori grabbed his leg before Luffy shot forward. And was hit with Satori's palm. Luffy was sent flying into a tree and Satori dashed over and had a force attack him several times in the face. Luffy's head was sent inside the trunk and he struggled to pull his head out as Satori looked on in amusement. Satori ran towards Usopp and Sanji before kicking a ball at Sanji as he was climbing a tree to jump on the crow. Sanji, look out. Usopp yelled as the ball bounced off 2 more and was heading towards Usopp, who was on a limb. Usopp. Usopp leaned back while letting go of the limb. He cried as the ball stopped above him and hit his nose. Only for a daisy flower to pop out on the top. It was a dud. Satori said, looking at the ball before Luffy ran to him along the trees. Gomu Gomu no. Gataringu. Gum Gum Gatling. Luffy attacked with a barrage of punches only for Satori to easily dodge as Luffy hit multiple balls instead. Luffy, use your head. You're only making it worse. Sanji yelled as the balls bounced around. Take cover. Sanji yelled as Satori watched doing a handstand. Multiple weapons and animals came out of the balls as the trio dodged the attacks. Usopp put on a red belt and climbed onto a limb. Got an idea? Sanji asked from his limb. Usopp shot a grappling hook to another limb and started to swing towards the crow. Isapue Usopp. He swung right past the crow as he tried to undo the belt. Baka. Idiot, why didn't you unhook? Sanji yelled as Usopp continued to struggle. A few minutes later, Sanji beat Luffy and Usopp to get them back on track before deciding on taking out Satori first before getting the crow. Satori dropped behind Sanji and hit him as he turned around, sending him into the tree beside them. Sanji. Zoro, Nami, and Robin. Zoro pulled Nami from the shore as a small shark jumped at her. Robin looked down before speaking. I've just noticed something. This is dirt. How did it get up here? All the other islands are clouds. Zoro tapped the ground with his boot. Yeah, it's not fluffy. Nami grabbed a handful of the dirt before letting it drop. Yeah, I noticed it when I got here earlier. Sky Islands are made of clouds. It feels like it's been a year since I've seen dirt. So why is this island different from the others? She asked as Robin looked down. I don't know. But it can be the reason why this place is so sacred. She replied before standing from her kneeling position. Later, they continued walking through the forest as they talked about trying to go to the other side. No. I'm not getting attacked again. Nami yelled before hearing birds fly away. Suddenly, an alligator dropped from a river above them and lunged at Nami. Zoro punched him away as Robin held his mouth shut. The going merry. Naruto stopped working on the mast as he looked over his shoulder. And saw Shura flying Fusa before turning to face the man. Who in the hell are you? Naruto asked, walking to the railing as Shura smirked. The person who has the pleasure of killing you. Naruto just raised an eyebrow before speaking. I'd like to see you try. Now why don't you do the smart thing and just leave? Naruto said before getting into a stance. Upper Yard, Naruto and Chopper. Wheat. Naruto got out of his stance and leaned his head back as he groaned before turning to see Chopper blow the whistle Ganful gave them. Really? Okay, I'll just sit this one out. He said, walking to the mast and leaned against it. And quickly grabbed the lance as Shura thrusts it at him. And then let go as a spark came off it, having fire shoot out a couple of inches. Naruto threw a punch only for Shura to dodge by leaning to the left and had Fusa breath fire at him. Naruto poofed, revealing a log that was kicked at Shura, who leaned back, letting it fall in the clouds. As Naruto kept Shura from attacking the ship, Shura explained that each priest have an area that have paths that lead to this spot, and when people are coming to the altar, the priests that didn't get picked are to leave them alone as they go through a trail to get to the altar. But the altar doesn't sit in either area, it's a free zone. Which means any one of us can attack it without repercussions. But proper etiquette is us not killing the ones here if their friends pass a trial. But 3 of your friends left the altar using vines. Team. Bastard. Naruto yelled out as they looked to where Zoro and the others left. We could have had a free pass. He finished just as Shura turned and parried a strike from Ganfall. Ganfall jumped onto Pierre as Shura jumped onto Fusa and flew around attacking each other. Nami, Robin, and Zoro. The trio walked across a route to pass over the river before a shark jumped out at them. Ahhhhh. Nami screamed and slipped off as Zoro sliced the shark with Wado. You okay, Nami? Zoro asked as Nami hung upside down as Robin created hands to hold her. Yeah, fine. She came back up on her hands and knees. Thanks. Sorry for being a burden. She said to Robin, who looked around. No problem. They walked to the other side and Robin saw what looked like a well. They continued making their way down and saw steps broken by the overgrown trees. As they made it to the well, Robin used a test tube to bring a sample from the bottom of the well. Zoro looked to see Nami looking ahead in shock through binoculars. They walked towards the direction Nami looked and came up to half a house that looks like crickets. Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp vs. Satori. Satori laughed as he danced on a ball as the others struggled to get up. He created a dragon with the balls and had a dragon mask in front. That the best you can do? Luffy asked, panting. Each ball is rigged with explosives, just try and escape. He directed the dragon at them as Luffy spun his arm. Gomu Gomu no. Pistoru. Gum Gum Pistol. Usopp pushed him away as the dragon flew near where Luffy was standing. Baka. Idiot. That freak just told us if we touched it, it will explode. The dragon flew to them, forcing them to run. Jump. Usopp said while running on a route. They jumped and grabbed another ball that exploded. Later, Satori taunted them as they were attacked by several exploding balls before having the dragon attack Luffy, who ran. Luffy looked back and saw a rope tied to the dragon before grabbing it, tore it, and held both ends before Satori pulled them towards him. Oh no. Boom. Satori barely dodged the main blast before Luffy grabbed him, wrapped his limbs around him, and had Sanji axe kick him on the head. Naruto and Chopper. Naruto jumped up just as both Ganfall and Shura hit each other with their lances and landed on the ground in front of the altar. Naruto jumped up to the Mary and put Ganfall on the ground just as Shura leaving, saying he's late for something. Chopper. He was hit near the chest. Naruto stood up before a shadow descended on them. He looked up and saw a flock of very large south birds flying by them. Holy shit. Later, Nami and the others got back. Hey. Are you alright? She yelled before hearing Naruto. Hey Zoro. He yelled before they saw Naruto lift his hand up and flip Zoro off. If you didn't leave we would have been free to go once the others got here. They got back on the Mary and waited for the others. Later, the crew camped out on the land and cooked the fish that was killed beside the Mary and gave each group what they saw and about the people that attacked them. Nami explained Upper Yard was the island of gold that was a part of Jaya that was sent up to the clouds by the knock-up stream. A few hours later. Sanji was cooking by the fire as the others was eating soup. Naruto looked up to see Nami wearing glasses with her hair tied in two pigtails at the bottom. They went on to talk about Nolan's tale and how the Gold City came up to Skypiea while they ate and how being up here had the foliage grow and thrive. Chopper went on to explain that a flock of south birds referred to Ganfall as Kami, God. He's Kami, so if we beat the crap out of this guy our job's done, Luffy asked as Naruto sighed. No, Kami must just be what they call their leader up here. King isn't the only label people would use for their leader. We called our leader Hokage. Fire Shadow. Ganfall must be the previous leader or was beaten for the position. They continued talking about Nolan, talking about a bell as well, a flock of south birds, and the city is located within the skull's right eye. Nami nodded before pulling out Skypiea map as well as one for Jaya. Putting them together, they made one large island in the shape of a skull. And it should be right here. Nami said, pointing to the right eye where a large temple was drawn. We can't leave the ship unguarded. Tomorrow morning, we'll split up into 2 teams. Night came and Naruto sat on a root before hearing Robin say they should douse the flame to keep the enemies from seeing them. Naruto noticed Luffy and Usopp slyly snicker at that. A rookie mistake. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that before seeing them both fall to their knees, saying you need a fire for camping. The next morning. Naruto woke up to the sun starting to rise from his tent after partying with a pack of wolves. He felt something soft pressing into both of his arms before looking to see that both Nami and Robin were sleeping under his blanket before they stirred awake. He tried moving his arms, but both were numb before the girls woke up and sat up to stretch. Naruto saw they were wearing only panties as they stretched before they covered their chests with their hands. Nami looked down to him and smirked. Morning Naruto-kun. Naruto sat up as he felt the feeling come back to his arms. What are you two doing in here? Well. We heard something and thought a strong man like you would protect us. Robin said, standing up and started to get dressed. Taking her time as she did so. Once they were dressed, both girls walked out swaying their hips doing so. Priests, other side of the island. The three stood in a courtyard in front of a gazebo with a large chair with a small group of people. They saw an obese man with a triple chin standing to their left. He has a round body shape with wavy black hair and tanned skin. He has bags under his eyes and thick lips. He's wearing a white toga with black vertical stripes, 3 on each side. Over his toga he has an orange sash, connected by strings, and has red lining and dark orange vertical stripes on it. He has gold bracelets on both his wrist and has wings on his back. Suddenly, they were attacked by lightning as a man somersaulted to the chair. He is a tall, muscular man with light hair covered by a simple white bandana. He has long earlobes weighted down to his chest by diamond-shaped gold earrings that stretch all the way to his chest. He is dressed in a very luxurious manner, with loose orange pants He has gold bracelets on both his arms and legs, and 2 little gold rings around his bigger toes as he's barefooted. He's holding a gold staff which he puts against the chair as he lazily laid on it. His nose has many lines running horizontally across it. He also has 4 large tomo drums attached via a large ring to his back. You boys are getting soft. You're out of practice, you're all on your way to being dismal failures like Satori. He said, resting his head on his hand. 2 women brought a tray of food over as they talked about the crew and about a tournament that Enel will start today. SHCE. The Going Merry. The crew looked at the Merry with the small damage from getting to the altar now fixed and the flying gear was now off as well before Usopp thought about the night before and thought he saw a ghost working on the Merry. Chopper and Usopp went to the crow before tying a rope to it. Had Chopper act as bait to get a shark to jump up. As one did, Sanji kicked a large hook to it and used the shark to pull the Merry down off of the altar. Later, they split off into 2 teams to go after the gold. One will stay with the Merry and sail it to the city as close as they can, while the other will go on foot to collect the gold. A few hours later, Nami, Usopp and Sanji stayed on the Merry while Chopper, Zoro, Luffy, and Robin traveled on foot to the city. Naruto and the others traveled for several miles, with Robin keeping Luffy and Zoro from going the wrong direction. Hey, is that root moving? Zoro asked, seeing a green and dark green striped root move before a large snake moved in front of them. Oh, come on. Really? Naruto asked as the snake lunged at them and forced them to dodge. After several minutes of dodging the attacks, each of the group was separated from each other. The Merry, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, and Ganfall. The Merry sailed through the forest using the crow as a source of power as Sanji moved barrels. Usopp and Ganfall sat and stood on the bow as Ganfall closed his eyes. He explained he was the previous Kami 6 years ago. And that upper yard came up on the knock-up stream over 400 years ago. And before then, they only got trinkets from the knock-up stream. Once upper yard came, they attacked the people that came up as well before forcing them from their home and taking the land for themselves. Ganfall explained he became the knight to help those that want to go to another sky island and escape Enel's rule. And that Enel and his followers beat him for the position when they showed up from another sky island 6 years ago. He took medicine that Nami gave him before continuing his explanation. Most people have been forced to do labor on a secret project, I don't know what it is. After sailing for a while, Ganfall showed them dials used for attacking before putting a red on a barrel and had Sanji hit it with a large mallet. Only for nothing to happen. Now, flip it over and push the tip. Sanji did that before pressing the tip. Boom. The barrel exploded, sending Sanji back and hit the railing. That is an impact dial. Ganfall said before explaining that the dial absorbs the impact from an attack and stores it for later use. That must be how Satori's attack works. Usopp said, realizing the attack was the same as before. He went on to explain a error one called reject dials can release stored energy 10 times stronger than the original attacks. Only to have a chance of injuring the user as well. Zoro walked through the forest resting his arm on his sword as he walked. He looked around thinking of moves that would combat the fighters on the island and against Mantra. Suddenly, a large buzzard flew down at Zoro before he turned and sliced at him. A shock wave went up in the air before Zoro continued. Needs work, but after a few tests, I'll have it down. Zoro said out loud as he walked. He was attacked by the gorillas before easily taking care of them. Suddenly, one jumped out after attacking one of Enel's followers. He is a muscular man with the upper half of his face always hidden by his hat. He's wearing a head covering. He's wearing a grass skirt with a decorated long light red sash around his waist and a light blue veil appearing from under the skirt and reaching down to his feet. He has on a fur-lined dark green jacket and has dark gloves on his hands. Zoro sighed as the man picked up 2 pistols and attacked. Every time the man shot, Zoro was blinded for a second before running back as the man went in the air. He fired again and blinded Zoro before appearing behind him and used the dials on his skates to attack Zoro with a kick. Zoro pulled Wado out just as he was kicked away. You put up a good fight. The man said as Zoro got up. I'm almost sorry I underestimated you. Zoro threw his backpack to the ground before smirking. Thanks pal, but I should apologize to you. I took you for a loser. The man used his skates to dash behind Zoro. He never moved his feet. Zoro thought pulling out Kitetsu. Zoro dodged another bullet before putting Wado in his mouth and pulled Yubashiri out and attacked. The man jumped out of the way and went up into the trees. The man threw a milky dial just as Zoro ran up a tree trunk and jumped at him. Oh shit. Zoro cursed as the man rode the new path towards him. Zoro leaned back just as the man shot at him point blank. And had a large leech jump up out of the river. Damn it. Zoro cursed as he fell down at it. Only to slice it in half and fell to the river before landing on the dead leech. Zoro dodged other shots before running to hide behind a tree and panted as he caught his breath. He gritted his teeth as blood came out of a graze on his right leg. He smirked before putting his goggles on and walked away from the tree. Your blinding trick won't work now. The man just stared. They look like regular goggles to me. Zoro froze at being found out before the man attacked again. Zoro dropped to the ground and landed in a crouch having blood spray out of his wound, getting him to hold in a yell of pain. Zoro continued to dodge the man's shots before looking up as they stopped. Think you can run away? The man asked as the smoke cleared. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. Zoro said holding Wado staring up at the man. These 6 roots ground us all by way of good, evil, or neutral. The man raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? He asked as Zoro continued. And they can be pure and impure, these are the 36 earthly desires. Zoro holds Wado horizontally above the shoulder of his arm holding his elbow with the other. Listen up, I have the barrel of a cannon pointed right at you. And all you have is a couple of pistols. My weapon's superior. You've done very well but you're still going to die. The man snorted and threw a dial down creating a cloud. You don't have a cannon, all I see are 3 swords. He said gliding down. You ever see a flying blade attack? Zoro asked before tensing. It tore you just as the man got near Zoro just as he swung Wado. Shinjikroku Pondo HM. 1 sword style. 36, caliber Phoenix. Waves of compressed air hits the man sending him flying away with a gash on his chest. Robin. Robin looked up at a man standing on an old building in white robes, brown gloves and skates and looks like a goat with small horns on his head. Please move, you're disturbing the building. She yelled. The man just glared at her before hands came up on him and twisted. Crack. And he fell over as she looked at the other buildings in the area. The going merry. The burned Sanji fell down on the deck as the others looked to see Enel crouching on the railing. Sanji. Usopp yelled as Nami held a tri-pronged kunai with riding on the handle by the figurehead. What a foolishly angry man. Enel said with a chuckle. If I came with pain and destruction that would be the first thing I offer you. Then why are you here Enel? Ganfall asked with a glare. I expected a warmer hello it has been 6 years now, Ganfall. Enel finished just as Nami threw the kunai on the deck. The going merry. Enel blinked as he saw a blonde-haired man standing above the 3-bladed knife. Naruto picked it up and pocketed it before looking to Enel. And who the hell are you? Naruto asked putting his hands in his pockets. I'm Kami. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that before disappearing. You'll hit me from above. Naruto did just that and hit him to the deck. Enel looked to see Naruto in his Senendo. Sage mode. So, you're this supposed Kami? Naruto said before jumping at Enel. Enel rolled out of the way, but his stomach distorted like he was hit. Naruto grinned before getting in a stance. Guys, get Sanji inside. Naruto said as the trio did that as Ganfall walked with them. Naruto dashed to Enel who dodged every strike with mantra, but his body distorted like he was hit and sent to the railing, or mast. How is he doing this? I'm dodging every strike. Plus with my powers, he shouldn't hit me at all. Enel thought before disappearing. Naruto moved his arms down before hearing 2 people land on the railing behind him. I'm surprised you could do that. Naruto heard one say before turning to face them. Even the weakest person can beat the strongest with 1 lucky strike. Naruto replied looking at the 2 men who resemble Satori. Their bodies are shaped like giant balls and they're wearing white jumpsuits with a white sash. They have orange shoes and gloves with yellow sunglasses. They have magentas ribbons on their backs and have goat ears, nose, and horns on their heads. 1 beating later. Naruto dropped the 2 men off the merry and had them fall in the river before dusting his hands off. Well, that's done. He said walking inside, hands in his coat pockets. Robin. Robin held a book open as she looked at a pillar with writing on it with images as well. Shandora, that was the name of this place 402 SE. The city was at its peak 1100 years ago. But then it toppled, around 800 years ago. She said touching it as birds flew off. That time frame almost perfectly matches the time frame of the missing 100 years of history. Perhaps this island holds the key to unlocking the history that was veiled below. This is a complete map of Shandora, perhaps I can learn more of the blank century. She finished before hearing a twig snap. She looked to see Yama standing behind her before speaking. "Who's there?" she asked before Yama spoke up. "Well, aren't you a beautiful young lady?" Robin just stared at him for a moment before speaking. "Are you another one of Enel's henchmen?" she asked, having Yama raise an eyebrow. "Henchman? You had better watch your mouth." "I'm Yama, Divine Commander of Enel himself." She just gave him a blank stare at that. "And what exactly do you want from me?" she asked as Yama took a couple steps forward. "Chopper?" Chopper looked at Jidatsu in shock as they stood in an area that's like a swamp. Chopper didn't move and saw Jidatsu was looking around with his eyes rolled up in his head. "Where did you go?" he asked as Chopper looked up, now in shock. His eyes are rolled back in his head. "That's really spooky." Chopper finished before one of Enel's men yelled out. "Jidatsu? You can't see the enemy with your eyes rolled back in your head like that." Jidatsu gasped before letting his eyes down. "An enemy, huh? I get it now. You must be one of Enel's priests." Chopper said as Jidatsu looked down at him. Jidatsu brought his arms up to cross them, only to slid them down every time he did. "Indeed I am. Let me introduce myself. I am Jidatsu, I command the ordeal of the swamp." Jidatsu thought as Chopper just stared at him. "Jidatsu? He can't hear you unless you speak up." The man yelled out again, having Chopper's jaw drop. "You don't normally forget that." Chopper yelled as Jidatsu struck a pose and rolled his neck. "I'd advise you to watch where you step. This entire area is my territory. All around us is swamp land. And once you found yourself trapped by one, there is no hope for escape. The survival rate here is 50%. He said as Chopper just stared at him. "The swamp?" Chopper asked as Jidatsu started sinking. "You're sinking?" Jidatsu scoffed at that. "Fool. It has no effect on me," Jidatsu said before flying up in the air with milky dials on his shoes. As he flew up in the air, clouds came out of his sleeves before throwing the cloud at Chopper. "Numagumo BG, Swamp Cloud Burger." And hit the divine soldier, instead having Chopper watch as he drop. Chopper ran over, pulled the man out before hitting the man's chest as he turned into his human form and turned to Jidatsu with the soldier helping him. Only for Jidatsu to dash over and punch the soldier into a stone pillar. Jeto Panchi. Jet punch. Chopper took off running as Jidatsu gave chase. Chopper took out a yellow jawbreaker and bit down on it, having it break. Ranburu. Rumble Ball. Chopper changed form before jumping high in the air to dodge another punch. He now looks like a less muscular human, but with his reindeer-like legs. Danpingu Point O. Jumping point. Jidatsu flew up and tried punching Chopper, who transformed into his muscular human form, to lean down away from it. Jidatsu threw another cloud, having Chopper change form again. His form grew to form a ball and left only his head and limbs visible. Gidu Point O. Guard point. He bounced off of the cloud and away from it, landing on the cloud ground. Buran Point O. Brian point. Chopper went into his hybrid form and brought his hooves together in front of him. Skumpu. Scope. Chopper looked through his hands and narrowed his eyes. He's got to have some weak point. Jidatsu punched Chopper to a broken building and destroyed it before hovering. He landed and saw Chopper was in his Janpingu Point O. Jumping point. Form before Chopper looked at his feet and smiled. So that's his weak spot. Chopper got up before changing into his reindeer form as blood dripped off of him. Chopper walked over and almost lost his balance several times before falling in front of Jidatsu, who's standing on a corner of a building. Chopper changed into his human form before he started climbing up to Jidatsu and grabbed one of his feet. Jidatsu kicked him off before creating a cloud over his head. He threw it, only for Chopper in his Janpingu Point O. Jumping point. Formed to dodge by jumping in the air and had Jidatsu fly up. With only one shoe and flew wildly before Chopper changed into his human form and dodged a punch. Amu Point O. Arm point. Chopper's biceps, triceps and shoulders became extremely muscular in a human-esque form and he retains his hooves. Chopper punched Jidatsu with both hooves, having him land in the water upside down as he fell, going back into his hybrid form. Robin vs. Yama. Robin jumped back as Yama punched another wall, destroying it. "You big oaf. Can't you see you're destroying priceless artifacts?" she asked, making him laugh. He threw several punches at Robin, having her dodge by jumping backwards before hitting a pillar. Yama hit her through it. Yama jumped up in the air before falling down, having Robin jump out of the way. She stopped at another pillar before creating arms in a circle on each of hers to act like shields. Veined Fleur. Calendula. 20 flowers. Marigold. She blocked Yama's kick before being sent back. "How long are you going to keep protecting these ruins?" Yama asked as Robin got up. "Indefinitely. Why must you disrespect our ancestors?" she asked, having Yama scoff. "The past has nothing to do with me," he replied before attacking again. Robin ran off in hopes of getting away from the ruins before coming to a cliff. She turned and saw Yama jump up in the air before creating arms from the trees that connected to each other and grabbed him by the legs. Trying to fleur, 30 flowers. She swung him at the trunk of a tree, putting a dent in the bark. Hangu. Hang. She grunted before dropping him from his weight. Yama got up and dashed to her, pulling his sash off, showing dials in it. Robin raised her arm before creating arms that covered his eyes, then flipped the sash so the dials pointed at him. He hit a tree and blood came off of him as the dials activated. He slid down before Robin walked over and created several hands to lift his head up. Yama grabbed her and stood up before having several arms appear on his shoulders and pull his hands back, breaking the fingers as she walked away. Cien fleur. 100 flowers. 100 arms appeared in front of Yama on the ground leading to the cliff. Delphinium, large rocket larkspur. The arms pulled Yama to the cliff and threw him off as more arms appeared on his body. Karaki. Clutch. She heard a loud cracking noise as Yama hit the ground below before picking up her backpack and walked back to the city. That was unpleasant. She said before walking to where Chopper fought Jidatsu and saw a large tunnel. The center should be here. She said looking around the area. But it doesn't match the map at all. She continued walking through the tunnel, remembering her conversation with Cobra and Naruto back in Alabasta. She walked to a building and went down steps before seeing cloud covering the floor. Eyes widening, she took out a knife before cutting a hole down in the clouds and saw another section of the building. She continued on and saw an opening leading outside. Running there, she stopped, seeing she was several stories above the dirt ground and sat down on the edge of the door. This is it, Shandora, the city of gold. The going merry. Hold on. Where the hell do you think you're going? Nami asked as Ganfall in his armor with Pierre got ready to leave. To locate Enel. He replied, fixing his helmet. You're going to leave us? He nodded before pointing to Naruto, who was laying on the railing. You've got him. That's beside the point. She yelled only for Ganfall to fly off on Pierre. Boom. Nami jumped as another cloud road formed as they heard a trumpet. Both Nami and Naruto looked to see Pagaya ad Kanis riding a bull-themed waver with a little girl wearing robes and barefooted with brown hair. Nami blinked, seeing a blue waver behind them before Pagaya explained that's the one they brought up with them from the salvage they did. Nami rode around the merry as Pagaya explained what he did to fix it and update it to the current standards. Chopper. Topper was climbing a beanstalk that twisting with another straight up into the sky before speaking. Almost there. He continued to climb up to the clouds above. I can't wait to see the faces of the others once they see I discovered the gold first. He went through the clouds and saw a ruined city. He went to the dirt ground and lost his balance as it was lopsided. What's up with this place? The ground's all crooked, guess I'll go this way. He said, slowly walking ahead. He started chanting gold before the clouds beside him rose. Chopper froze as he heard growling before hearing a voice. No holy, stay. I said stay. Chopper turned to see a large dog lay down behind him before hearing the voice again. Interesting, you're the third one to make it this far. You killed Jidatsu, didn't you? Chopper turned to see Om crouching on a building before thinking back to his fight with Jidatsu. I guess he means that guy from earlier. Chopper thought before Om spoke again. I guess it's for the best. One less idiot in the world, right? Chopper started to back up before tripping over a bleeding Shandorian before screaming as Om spoke up again. Holy is a well-trained dog. He wouldn't bite anyone. I did that. Chopper took off running in his reindeer form, having Om chase him. Chopper ran around the ruins before hiding behind a wall. Chopper sighed before walking down a street. And was hit with a white blade cloud coming through a wall, cutting his chest. The ordeal of iron. Survival rate is 0. Om said, holding his sword from the other side of the wall. Luffy. Luffy ran through a cave looking at the broken buildings as he did. Missing his clothes start to tear up as water splashed on them. He continued walking as his stomach growled while finding gold scattered around the ruins. He continued walking before coming to a wall. Are you serious? A dead end. But I came all this way. He said, looking back from where he came. Maybe it's a trick door. He said before punching the wall. Only for everything to shake and move up, forcing Luffy to fall down where he came. And was hit with cloud water, forcing him back. The going merry. Another voice has disappeared. Isa said from her spot on the deck as the other looked to her. She jumped off the shop, having Nami pull her shirt off and dived after her. Usopp sighed as he stayed at the steering pole to keep them straight. Nami swam to her waver with a screaming Isa before calming her down. Suddenly, a large snake came out of the water, burping clouds, having them scream before it suddenly yelled out in pain and thrash around. Nami drove the waver away, screaming, having Naruto curse. He put his hand in a cross sign before yelling. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He created 2 clones before jumping on the snake and followed Nami from the trees as she drove in the forest. I'll watch her. He saw several soldiers and Shandorians fighting before catching up to Nami, who was idling on a river. Naruto landed on a tree trunk and kept his feet and a hand on it as he looked to her. Nami. That snake followed us in here. Zoro. Zoro fell down in the ruined city beside Wiper before looking to see Ohm, Holy, and Gan full with Pierre. "Hey. Hand over the gold," Zoro said looking to Ohm putting his hand on Kitetsu's handle. Behind him, the snake from earlier started thrashing around in pain. Ohm jumped on Holy as Gan full got on Pierre. Zoro pulled Kitetsu and Yubashira out and looked at the snake. "How the hell did that snake get all the way up her anyway?" he said glancing to the bottom part of the forest he was previously on before a south bird brought him up here trying to take his pack for lunch. Zoro looked to see Wiper shoot a stream of blue flame at him from his bazooka before dodging. "Need to work on your aim there, pal," Zoro said smirking having Wiper scoff. They talked blows with Wire shooting his bazooka several times before dodging as the snake came down to bite them. The snake bit a building having it melt. "Okay, note to self. Watch out for his poisonous fangs," Zoro said looking at the building. He heard growling before looking behind him and saw Ohm sitting on Holy. Zoro swung his sword only to lean back to dodge a punch from Holy as he stood on his hind legs. And fall attack Ohm as Zoro dodged the sake again and dashed off. He stopped outside the city before noticing something. His eyes widened seeing a bloody chopper lying underneath white barbed wire. He ran over and stepped on a rock that sunk. More barbed wire came out of the ground and hit Zoro's shoulder as it attacked to a wall. "What the hell?" Zoro asked as blood seeped out of his shoulder. He crawled to Chopper and tried waking him up. As Zoro did that, Ohm was explaining his ordeal and making the barbed wire out of clouds with a dial. "I guess you want to get revenge now," Ohm said as Zoro's eyes shadowed. "I don't usually fight for that," Zoro said turning to face Ohm as he fixed his glasses. "But. You just changed my mind." Holy dashed over having Zoro dodged his attacks before he was hit by Ohm's sword that stretched over to him. Zoro flew back several feet before getting back up to his feet. Blood dripped from his chest as he hissed in pain. "This sword of mine is also made from iron cloud," Ohm said as his sword wavered. "So it's like a whip," Zoro said before blocking a strike from Ohm's sword. "Ahhh." Zoro looked to see Nami ride up on her waver with a girl as Naruto jumped up through the clouds. They stopped in the city as Naruto looked to see the battle. "What the hell did we miss?" Wiper shot at Nami only for Ganfall to grab them as Naruto hit Wiper. "Team. Bastard. You were willing to hit your own friend," Naruto said before punching him. Naruto looked to see the snake leap up to swallow Nami and Ganfall before cursing. Suddenly, barbed wire came out of the ground creating a dome around them. Naruto was about to Hurricane. "Flying Thunder God." To Nami before hearing a female spoke up Wiper. Naruto turned to see a female Shandorian. She is a tall, black-haired woman, with two large bangs parted to either side of her face on the front and a long and elaborate ponytail on the back. She has dark green eyes and her lips are covered with pink lipstick. She has two small wings on her back. Her outfit consists of a light purple cleavage revealing tunic with a darker pattern that exposes her stomach and light red pant that are open on the inside of her legs. She also has matching colored skate-type wavers. "Lucky," Wiper said dropping his weapon and ran to the wire. "Enel's pure electricity," she said before Wiper spoke up. "Get out of here," he yelled before Enel appeared behind Lucky. "Did I hear my name called?" he asked before a Hurricane, Flying Thunder God. Kunai flew past Lucky. Naruto appeared in front of Lucky before creating a clone and dispelling it. He went into Senendo Sage mode. Glad I had one clone meditate to gather energy. "Real easy up here with a large vegetation," Naruto said before dodging a strike from Enel's staff. Naruto grabbed it and punched Enel sending him flying having like look on in shock. "How did you do that?" she asked as Enel got up. "Just go," Naruto yelled before being hit in the stomach with a bolt of lightning. He lurched over and fell to one knee before Enel appeared in front of him and hit Naruto with his staff. Only for Naruto to slowly stand up as he was also covered in red chakra. "You're healed now, kid." Naruto heard a voice in his head as he also gained slits with his bar-like eyes. Naruto punched Enel sending him flying away before he disappeared in a bolt of lightning. Naruto cracked his neck before sighing. "They always leave when faced with someone who can match them," he said before walking back with his hands in his pockets before disappearing in a flash. Inside the snake. Naruto in his normal form appeared beside Nami as the group looked around at the ruins inside the snake. Suddenly, Luffy in tattered clothes walked over to them barefooted. "Oh, you guys came in the cave as well?" he asked as Nami looked to him. "You're not inside a cave. We're inside a large snake." "Okay guys, grab each other," Naruto said as they looked at him, Ganfall and Isa in confusion. They put their hands on their shoulders as Nami held her waver. Suddenly, their vision distorted before appearing outside of the dome. Luffy Zoro asked as he looked to them. All but Naruto fell over holding their stomach and green-faced. "Yeah, that'll pass. Just wait here as Zoro finishes his fight," Naruto said as they groaned. Zoro dashed around as the snake started to slither around before stopping at a building. "This is getting really old," he said, panting. "That extendable sword he's using is a pain," he finished before hearing Aizen Whippu. Iron Whip. Zoro flipped forward, dodging Ohm's blade before running to the roof of another building. He looked around before dodging another strike from Ohm's sword. Aizen Whippu. Aizen Whip. Zoro dodged several more strikes before looking to the last spot he was attacked. "How does he know where I am? It's like he can see through walls or something," he said before running to Ohm and brought up his swords. Notoryu. Takanami. Two-sword style. Hawk Wave. Zoro tried to attack with an air wave, only for Ohm's sword to become a ball, blocking the attack. Aizen Baku. Aizen Back. The sword went back to normal before Ohm attacked with several different techniques. Zoro raised one sword over his shoulder in a horizontal pattern. Tsunchikroku Pondo HM. 36, Caliber Phoenix. Ohm attacked with his sword and blocked Zoro's attack. How can he block it? Zoro thought before jumping away from Ohm's attack and ran in the city. Zoro stopped at a wall and put on his bandana. "So, you're the leader of the Blue Sea Dwellers up here." Zoro heard Ohm on the other side of the wall before pulling Wado out and put it in his mouth. 1 life holds 36 desires. 2 lives hold 72. 3 lives hold 108 earthly desires. Zoro said, holding both of his swords over his shoulder in a horizontal pattern. Santoryu. Hyakuhachi Pondo HM. 3-sword style. 108, Caliber Phoenix. Zoro swung his swords just as Ohm's sword came through the wall, and 3 air projectiles came out flying towards Ohm, breaking his sword and hit Ohm, having blood spray as he fell on his back. Robin. Robin continued looking around the city for a giant golden bell that has a poneglyph on it before finding tracks for mine carts. She looked at them before hearing a voice behind her. "Isn't it amazing?" She turned to see Enel sitting on a building throwing an apple up in the air. Even after being shot up into the sky, the city of Shandora still majestically exists. Even if it's a city everyone knows about, how can it show off its lovely figure if it's covered in clouds? "I'm the only one who could see it. I discovered it. The other commies never knew it existed," Enel said as Robin raised an eyebrow. "And who are you?" she asked as he smiled. "I'm Kami," Enel replied, taking a bite from the apple. "You're quite intelligent. One might guess you're an archaeologist from the Blue Sea world with how fast you found these cities' ruins. It took us several months to find the same thing. I suppose it's easier when you can read the words on the ruins, right? Unfortunately, the gold you're looking for isn't here anymore. I'm afraid you're a few years too late for that." Robin just stared at him before speaking. "The gold. Well, you're right about that, I couldn't find any. You must have been the one who removed it." Enel took another bite before speaking. "Gold is a good thing to have, and that glittering metal suits me well, don't you think?" Robin held her pack before speaking. "Then you must have taken the golden bell that was once here as well." He looked to her in confusion. "There was a golden bell?" he asked before finishing the apple, along with the core. "Well, I'm intrigued, what did you learn from reading those letters on the bell?" he asked with his mouth full before swallowing. "I never got to read them. It must have been a myth," she replied, having Enel point at her. "No, wait, it's here, right here in the sky. When this island was blown up here 400 years ago, it was said the loud chimes of a bell was heard. The island inhabitants called it the island singing voice. But that wasn't it, it was the bell. The bell made of gold. Amazing. Soon, the game will be over," he finished before laughing. "The going merry." Usopp, Kanis, and Pagaya looked at a robbed man with burn marks on him. He explained he was forced to work on a project for Enel before grabbing Usopp's army. Enel is planning to destroy Sky Island. Their eyes widened at that before the man explained more. He built a ship. The Ark Maxim. He plans to fly away as the islands burn. He finished before a bright light shone down on them. Usopp looked up in fear before he and Kanis was pushed away to the Mary by Pagaya. Boom. Dusan. Father. The Mary was blown back by the blast as Usopp and Kanis held on to the railing. "I've got to go tell the others," Kanis said after several minutes of silence as Usopp nodded. "Yeah, go on," he said as she jumped on the bull waver without Sue and left. Zoro. "Well, that took longer than expected. Guess I need to do a little more training," Zoro said, sheathing his sword, looking at Ohm. Before a shadow came over him. He turned to see Naruto block a punch from Holy. "No," Zoro said, having Holy sit down and wag his tail. "You mean this dog obeys anyone?" Zoro asked, having Holy bark. "Oh, knock yourself out." Holy did just that, getting Naruto to sweat drop at that. Pitiful. Robin and Enel. "What exactly did you just do?" Robin asked as Enel glowed after sending lightning in the air. His glow died down as he smiled. "I showed mercy, a pitiful worm was in a great deal of pain, so I saved him by releasing him from his torment. I performed my duties as Kami." It seems that the young woman is behaving desperately. But desperation is the most interesting option. Soon enough, full despair will be something everyone understands. Enel finished as Robin looked to him and thought. This man, he has loads of power. She thought before Enel spoke. And now I must say what little time we have here has come to a close. This is the beginning of the end. I will now set into motion a series of events that will reveal my ultimate plan. He said as Robin looked up to him. What plan? What do you mean? She asked as Enel grinned. The Sky Lord is calling you. Heed my call, holy beings, and come to me. He yelled, glowing before lightning appeared around him. Sango. Lightning flash. Boom. Lightning covered the area and went up giant jack, hitting the others on the city above them. What are you doing? Robin asked as Enel laughed. It was I who brought you and your friends up here to Shandora. I beckoned you. He yelled as the others fell down to them. Naruto dove down fast and caught Chopper before slamming into several debris as the others did as well. With Luffy falling into a building before it crashed down into the ground. Lucky, Asia, and Nami used her waver to drive down the debris before landing in the cloud water, creating a big splash. Naruto moved a wall off of him as he held Chopper and showed a panting Zoro. What the hell was that? Naruto asked, putting Chopper down and threw the wall away. Swordsman, Naruto-kun. She said as Naruto cracked his neck and rolled his right shoulder. This is not my day. Zoro said, standing up. Where are we? Zoro asked as Naruto picked Chopper up and walked to Robin. This is the city of gold we've been looking for. She replied before they stopped near her. Where's the gold? Did you find it? Zoro asked, making Robin shake her head. I didn't, there's no evidence the gold was even here. Eritmaru. Elthor. The Straw Hats looked to see Enel shoot a bolt of lightning at the snake, knocking it out before hearing Nami speak up. Zoro, Robin, Naruto-kun. When did you get here? She asked, making them blink. I'm glad to see you're alright, Navigator-san. Robin said as they looked to the snake. Everyone but Nami, who hid with Chopper, walked over to where Enel was sitting on a ball cloud talking to Wiper as Lucky hid with Isa. Well done, I'm happy so many of you made it this far. Enel said as Nami looked to see a clone of Naruto meditating beside her, a small vine wrapping around him. I extend my welcome to you survivors, and now, the fun truly begins. Enel said with a laugh before looking to the 5 standing in front of him. This is a survival game to see who's still standing after a total of 82. The last person left will of course, be the winner. Enel said as the others just stared at him. Among you, there are a few participants who came in late to the game. But I allowed them to stay. It will make it all the more interesting. Now the 6th of us will go on to the final part of the game. In just a few minutes, the 3 hours will be up, which means the 9 people we have here are 3 too many. Nami squeaked at that as the group in front of Enel stared at each other. The one thing I know is that Kami's prophecies will never falter. I'm curious to see how these people will die. Naruto pointed at Enel as his glared. Or, we can kill you and be done with this whole thing. Enel laughed loudly at that before calming himself down and spoke. Listen to yourselves. He said, laughing as Robin raised her arm and the other pointed their weapons at him. I must admit, I'm quite impressed. But you have no idea what you're up against. He said, gripping his staff, having electricity crack on it. Even the 5 of you together have no chance. Naruto rolled his eyes at that before moving his left hand behind his back. And like so many people, they think the previous times you faced them were a fluke or delude themselves it didn't happen. He thought, tossing a pebble at his clone, it poofed away as Naruto's eyes started to change. Enel explained he was leaving Skypiea to go to his rightful place as he turned around on his ball and stood up. It's my dream to find Kami's place, the endless earth, a place where the ground extends as far as the eyes can see in all directions. I'll tell you this place you desire is an abomination. Consider this. Enel said, turning to them and pointed to the sky. It was born in the sky, though it's not a cloud. It lives in the sky, though it's not a bird. He slammed the end of his staff on his ball before continuing. This nation in the sky is an unnatural one. When we die we all return to the earth, the soil. But here, there is none. He finished, having his ball disappear. This unnatural nation will be ripped apart and pulled from the sky. Enel yelled, having the group's eyes widen. Enel sat cross-legged and explained how he used Ganfall soldiers to build an ark to fly away as he destroyed Sky Island and go to Endless Earth. And the 9 of them are the only ones left alive on Shandora. Ganfall charged ahead to attack, only for Enel to throw his staff up in the air. Ganfall's attack went through Enel before he created a small ball of lightning between his fingers, having it grow. Nisenman Burrito VR Plus. 20 million volt Vari. The others were blinded before the light died down, showing a badly burned Ganfall. His helmet fell down, showing a small hole melted through it. Enel caught his staff and turned to invite the others to go with him. Screw off. Naruto said, flipping him off as the others, minus Wiper, looked at Naruto in shock. Naruto kept his eyes on Enel as Robin bought time by saying he'll destroy the bell before Enel laughed. I know where it is now. He said, getting her eyes to widen, remembering the location of the bell is where Giant Jack is before Enel pointed a finger at her. Lightning shot out of it, having her eyes widen further before she was pushed out of the way. Naruto took the shot to his head and fell down to the ground, his face badly singed. Later, Naruto woke to feel someone run their fingers through his hair. Opening his eyes, he saw his head was in Robin's lap before Luffy came running to them. Robin explained to Luffy that Enel attacked them and his plan to destroy Sky Island. And Nami went with him to an arc he built, having Luffy run off following Isa, who said she'll lead him. Naruto got up as the last singed spot on his face healed and walked after them. Stay here, Robin, I'll bring everyone back once the fight's over with. Later, Naruto dropped in a cave before looking up to a massive ark. The ark contains a throne that is beneath a golden face and a large storage room. The gears and generators are quite large and it has a line of oars. Hey. Are you the one they call Enel? Luffy asked up to the ark just as Enel jumped on the railing as Nami laid on it after jumping. Luffy. Naruto-kun. Luffy glared up at Enel as Naruto put his hands in his pockets. Luffy's got this one. It'll also be easier since he's rubber. Naruto thought as Luffy ran up to the deck. Naruto jumped up and landed on the railing, having Nami latch onto him, wrapping her arms around his neck. You're here. She said as Naruto's face turned blue from lack of oxygen. She let go, having Naruto gasp just as Enel shot lightning at Luffy, engulfing him in it. The light dimmed, showing an unscathed Luffy who looked at Enel. Enel tapped his drums, having them light up and shoot a bolt of lightning at Luffy in the shape of a dragon. Rakusenman Boruto Jamubkru. 60 million volt Ulungal. It hit Luffy, only for nothing to happen. Enel disappeared and appeared at Luffy. Ichioku Boruto VR plus. 100 million Vari. Luffy just grabbed Enel before throwing him away. Get off of me. He yelled, having everyone but Naruto gain a shocked look, or very shocked look in Enel's case. Luffy dashed over and kicked Enel in the stomach, knocking him down with blood coming out of his mouth. Enel got up before jumping backwards to the railing to the front of the ship. You're no mere mortal, what are you? Enel asked as Naruto yelled to him. Luffy's made out of rubber from eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Gum Gum fruit. And electricity or lightning doesn't work on it. Luffy dashed to Enel, only for him to dodge his punch with mantra. Luffy shot his leg down in a sweeping motion. Gomu Gomu no Muchi. Gum Gum whip. Enel disappeared, having Luffy land on the deck. Enel appeared just behind him, having Luffy jump back on his hand and brought his feet together. Gomu Gomu no. Yari. Gum Gum spear. Enel disappeared, having Luffy almost hit the others before bringing his feet back as Enel appeared beside him. Enel hit Luffy up to the face with his staff before pushing his staff against Luffy's throat. Lightning can do much more than electric shocks. Luffy kicked at Enel, having him disappear. I see, he has that ability to predict my moves. Luffy said before Enel's staff glowed with lightning. Gurmu Padaringu. Gloam paddling. His staff changed into a trident before he attacked, having Luffy jump to the top of the face. So you do have weakness. Enel said before Luffy jumped up and brought his hands back. Gomu Gomu no. Gataringu. Gum Gum Gatling. Enel disappeared before coming out of the face and attacked Luffy from behind. Luffy grabbed a trident as gold dripped off of it, having it burn his hands. Luffy stretched one leg in the air and brought it down on Enel. Gomu Gomu no. Oh no. Gum Gum Battle Axe. Enel was sent down to the deck as Luffy attacked with fists. Gomu Gomu no. Gataringu. Gum Gum Gatling. Enel grabbed his hands before looking up to Luffy. It's still only two hands attacking me, he said before slamming Luffy onto the deck. Enel jumped to the railing and twirled his trident as he walked on it. Sightseeing on Sky Island, you Blue Sea people picked a bad time to visit, he said, walking to the face and turned the arc on with his powers. The arc started to rise as Luffy got up from his spot. Nami muttered before catching Luffy's hat. Calm down, he said as Nami looked at him in shock. Calm down how? She asked as Luffy calmly walked towards Enel. You're a part of the crew of the future king of the pirates. So wipe that frown away. They broke through to the outside as Enel walked in front of Luffy. Black smoke came out of the top as Enel laughed as the clouds started to cover the entire Sky Island. Thunder clouds. Enel said, explaining he created them using his power with the arc, and that's how he plans to destroy Sky Island. He shot a small bolt in the cloud, having a large one hit Sky Island. Naruto crossed his arms as his eyes shadowed. Come on, Luffy. If I didn't want you all to rely on me, I would have taken this guy out when he powered up this arc, he thought, glancing up to Enel. Enel thrusts his trident at Luffy, who jumped back before kicking Enel, who brought his arm up to block it. Luffy put his foot on the trident and quickly pulled it off after being burned. Luffy blocked several attacks before kneeling down to blow on his hands just as Enel thrusts his trident and hit the railing. How can I beat a guy who can predict my moves? Luffy asked before remembering he just ducked under Enel's attack. That's it. He said before standing up. Gomu Gomu no PM, Gum Gum dazed Luffy gained a dazed look before easily dodging Enel's attacks before backflipping away and panted. I can't attack him if I turn my brain off. Luffy said as Nami blinked. Don't stop now. She yelled as Luffy stared at Enel. Luffy took a deep breath and had his head expand. He exhaled having his limbs stretch and stay that way. Gomu Gomu no. Teiko. Gum Gum Octopus. Luffy jumped to the throne and hit the face multiple times having his fists hit randomly around him. Gomu Gomu no. Teiko Hanabi. Gum Gum Octopus Fireworks. His punches hit Enel multiple times having blood spray from his mouth before Luffy dashed over and slammed his hands in Enel's stomach. Gomu Gomu no. Bazooka. Gum Gum Bazooka. Enel fell on his stomach before Luffy attacked again with his arm that's twisted around. Gomu Gomu no. Refuru. Gum Gum Rifle. Luffy hits Enel in the stomach having him spin from the attack and was sent back to the gold face. Enel sat up and coughed up blood while he continued talking about destroying Skypiea before Luffy dashed to him. Enel he put his hand on the face. Ahhhh. Luffy screamed in pain as Enel pulled gold off into a large ball in front of encasing Luffy's arm, leaving only his hand out. Enel threw the ball overboard having Luffy fall down to the forest below. Enel turned just as Naruto disappeared with Nami and her waver. And appeared on the ground below in front of Usopp's and a bandaged Sanji. The Mary okay? Naruto asked as they dumbly nodded as Nami held on to Naruto holding her stomach. Naruto heard an explosion before seeing the arc shake a little as smoke came out of the bottom. Kabaku Futa, explosion tags. Gotta love them. He said before looking to the others. Want to go to the Mary or to the others? Robin. Naruto flashed beside Robin with Nami and the others before seeing Luffy run up Giant Jack. And fell down after running up several feet from his gold ball. Nami rode up on the waver as Naruto and the others watched. Naruto pulled out binoculars and saw Luffy convince Nami to take him up. Ring the bell. Naruto asked reading Luffy's lips before they went through the clouds. Lightning hit several places in the forest as the others watched the arc fly above them. Zoro, Ganfall, and Wiper got up to see the destruction as Robin spoke up. Luffy said something about ringing the golden bell. Robin explained about deducing the golden bell was in the place where the beanstalk was growing and it's on the top. Suddenly, the tip of the stalk fell down to them having them look up again. A few minutes later, a leaf fell down with writing on it as well as a compass with a W circled. Cut down the stalk. And make sure it falls to the west. Isa said as Naruto shrugged. Okay, and in west huh? Naruto held his hand out as the others heard screeching. Naruto created a Futon. Rasengan. Wind technique. Rasengan. And threw it as the stalk. It cut the bottom before Naruto jumped at it and kicked it so it started falling to the west. Up with Luffy and Nami, Nami was driving Luffy up the tilting stalk as they looked to see a large ball form in the clouds. Lightning crackled around them as they made it to the top of the stalk. They flew off the stalk towards the arc as Enel attacked with lightning as Luffy threw his gold-covered arm back. Luffy jumped off the waver having Nami fall to the cloud base under her as he went into the cloud ball and attacked in multiple places. Gomu Gomu no Hanabi. Lugon Boten. Gum Gum Firework. Golden Peony. The ball broke revealing Luffy with his arm thrown back and twisted as the dark clouds cleared. Luffy fell to Enel as lightning covered him and he started to grow and change appearance. Enel now looks like a gigantic raging-looking thunder god made of pure electricity. Bakusu Nyoku Boruto Amaru. Max 200 million volt Amaru. Luffy blinked as his arm went further back. What the hell is that? He asked before bringing his foot forward and kicked Enel. He screamed in pain as he was cut in the ribs with Enel's trident before bringing his fist forward. Gomu Gomu no Ulgon Refuru, Gum Gum Golden Rifle. Luffy punched Enel and sent him back to a large golden bell, hitting it. Bong. The bell rung as it was hit having Luffy cheer as he fell to Nami. Later, Naruto sat with the others as Chopper was fixing everyone up before hearing Luffy yell. They looked to see Luffy, Nami wearing a blue hoodie, Kanes and Sue running to them with a very large bag. Naruto looked as Pagayu walked over and explained he was sent to the lower level of the White Sea. And that countless others who there as well as people who escaped before Angel Island was destroyed were now making their way back up into Upper Yard for their new home. Later that night, Naruto watched the others party at a large bonfire before seeing Robin sitting on a log drinking from a mug. He walked over and smiled at her. Wanna dance? She looked at him for a moment before taking his hand and started dancing. And was joined by Nami who, after getting to them took off her hoodie showing her bikini as they danced through the night. 4 days later, night. The hand covered Naruto's mouth waking him up to see Nami was the one who did it. Luffy found gold in that snake's stomach. Naruto got up and saw the crew was up before walking to the sleeping anaconda and went in his mouth. They walked to the ruins and saw gold weapons, crowns, and other things made out of gold before taking as much as they could. The next day, Naruto walked with Robin, who was wearing a purple jacket and her purple corset, showing extreme cleavage up to the golden bell with a poneglyph in the base. She began to speak as she walked to it. "We shall know the true meaning and utter it to no one. It's our legacy to be the inheritors of history. And our duty to protect it with the sounding of the grand belfry." The leader of the Shandorians looked to her in shock. "That was written on the walls in Shandora." She relied, stopping at the black stone. "Generations ago, your people were tasked to be its guardians, correct? You can actually read the writing?" The leader asked as Robin stood at the stone. "It mentions Poseidon, an ancient weapon named after a god. It even gives its whereabouts," she said, making the others mutter to themselves. After a few minutes, she turned around. "Just another dead end." She walked away until one man spoke up. "Miss, what about the writing on the side?" Robin's eyes widened at that before looking to see a note on the gold beside the poneglyph. "Goldie Roger. I made it here and I will guide this passage all the way to the farthest ends of the earth. The stormiest seas will not stop me. Pirate Goldie Roger. The Pirate King, then he made it up here, to Sky Island," she said before Ganfall spoke up. "I met Gold Roger over 20 years ago. I take it it's his name inscribed there, correct?" She nodded before speaking. "Yes, I have no idea how he reached this bell, but somehow he did. Now that I think about it, there are two kinds of poneglyph stones. Ones that contain information and the others that tell how to reach other poneglyphs guide this passage." Could he mean the Rio poneglyph, she asked as a breeze picked up. "Chief, this poneglyph's duty has been fulfilled." She went on to explain how some poneglyphs contain direction to the Rio poneglyph that has the history during the Void Century before leaving. "Wait. Take that broken support as thanks. You all wanted gold, right?" Naruto looked to see the large support before looking to Robin. "I'll go prepare a scroll to take that like I do for my weapons and gear." Naruto flashed into the kitchen of the Mary before taking out supplies to work on a scroll. Later, he felt the Mary move before walking out and saw they were at a gate with Cloud End on the sign. "Where's the pillar, Robin-chan?" Naruto asked, seeing everyone changed into their regular clothes. But Nami in a grey vest with evil written on it and blue unzipped to show her cleavage and jean short shorts. "Pillar?" Nami asked, turning around. "Yeah, the people gave us a large gold pillar. It would have filled at least 5 Marys with nothing but the highest berry bills they make." Nami gained a shocked look before turning to Luffy. "You said we were being attacked. Go back and get that gold." She yelled only for them to pick up speed as Kanis and Pagaya ran alongside them, explaining they needed to hang on from being dropped with the free fall. "Free fall?" Naruto asked, coming to a drop. They picked up speed, sailing down before coming to an edge. And sailed off, staying airborne for several seconds. "Ahhhh." They screamed as they fell down towards Earth. Suddenly, an octopus grabbed them and inflated, having them slowly drift down. Naruto flailed his arms as Nami held him to her bust in a death grip. She let him go and Naruto fell to his knees, gasping for air. Later, they looked at their gold, figuring out what to buy with it before Naruto spoke up. "Why not fix the Mary?" he said as the others looked at the broken steering pole, mast, and several spots on the railing before nodding. Later that night, Naruto looked up at the octopus after being blown slightly off course before hearing Luffy jump on his head. Naruto's eyes widened before yelling. "Luffy. Get the hell off of the octopus." Nami looked at him in confusion before speaking. "Why?" "It's shrinking." Their eyes widened at that before Nami looked over the railing and saw the ocean was coming to them faster than before. "We're still too high in the air," she said just as Naruto ran to the railing. Luffy and Sanji, who went to get Luffy, fell down with a pack of cigarettes as Naruto leaned out and extended his hand. Luffy grabbed it with his right arm stretched out and grabbed Sanji with his left. Luffy laughed as they dangled before Naruto pulled, having them fly up and land on the deck. Suddenly, they started falling down as the octopus shrunk completely. Usopp put on his belt and suction shoes before swinging to the bottom of the ship. He started putting breath dials on and the Mary slowed down. Only for the octopus to shrink down to Chopper's size, having everyone look up in shock. And they started to fall down faster and landed on the water. "Holy crap," Naruto said as water splashed them. "Everyone alright?" he asked as they nodded. The octopus landed on Luffy's face, having him pull the octopus off. Everyone looked to the night sky to look at Sky Island before Sanji lit a cigarette and went to make coffee. Suddenly, lights went off, revealing a marine base with alarms going off. It's a large mountain with a rock formation around it like a ring and a large bridge. "I hate my luck," Naruto said, sighing as he leaned his head back to look at the sky. "Does anyone know just where the heck we are?" Luffy asked as more lights came on. "So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.